Good evening, this is Lights, Camera, Action with me, Hannah King. Tonight we are talking to director Harriet McIntosh and actress Keira Knightley. Now to welcome our first guest, Harriet McIntosh.
Hello.
The last time we saw you and your team was in the process of filming, right?
Yeah, it was. It seems like ages ago now.
It does. So March has been out for a month or so now and has already received widespread recognition.
It has, scarily.
March is a short film, and so you would have had the criteria to follow, which is much different to that of feature films, correct?
Well, traditionally, a short film lasts between a few minutes to 25 minutes. Usually there are 2 to 3 characters, a linear storyline, a twist, so, it makes it more interesting. And the films are often low budget and are set in an everyday situation to make it more relatable to the audience.
So how could you say that Marked has followed these traditions?
Fortunately, our film is only 7.5 minutes long. However, I'm sure if we had been allowed to, we would have extended the running time. But then again, although our film is 7.5 minutes, we don't feel like we've lost any integrity.
What about the storyline and settings?
Well, we follow Todorov's theory of equilibrium, where the character has an established equilibrium at the beginning of the film. We then have something that goes horribly wrong, causing disequilibrium.
Oh, I see.
And of course, after this, a new equilibrium is then established. If you're a fan of short films, you see this occurring often. Therefore, for Marked, we try to follow this. It's so hard not to give away the story.
I haven't even gotten started yet.
I know. So for the settings, we try to use locations that would be relevant to the storyline and the audiences, which would then be more relatable.
From the press releases, reviews and advertisements, we know that you have a female protagonist. But what about the other characters?
Well, we do have more than 2 or 3 characters, which are tradition, but each one influences the protagonist's journey almost. Even then, we couldn't go too crazy on location variants and a multitude of characters, as after all, it's a low-budget film.
So what makes your film and other short films different from feature films?
Well, in our film, we have very little dialogue, so we only really used it as a turning point or to emphasise something of importance, so for example, to foreshadow something going wrong.
So if you don't have very much dialogue, surely that makes for a boring film?
Actually, no. In place of dialogue, we used a narrative, so the character is almost speaking directly to the audience. This too is a standard short film convention. You see it often in short films like Booth Story. We also place more emphasis on the use of music and sound that we used, which is also indicative on how the audience should feel.
Oh, so do you think that the sounds and music could determine the genre of your short film?
Well, we consider our film to be a coming-of-age drama.
Why did you choose a drama short?
Well, we preferred a storyline that allowed character development in a real-life situation within a realistic setting and storyline, so essentially the basic conventions.
What else did you do to follow the criteria, so to speak?
Well, in post-production, we used a variety of editing techniques, such as using jump cuts. As time is valuable, we show movements through montage and jump cuts. The jump cuts allow us to speed the characters' movements up and can also make it seem exciting.
Did you have to correct anything else once it was filmed? As Marked is a low budget film, surely you hadn't got the opportunity to continually refilm.
Well, during the post-production, we had to use colour correcting tools to match up shots which had previously been compared to the rest of the film. Of course, after filming, we put the opening and end credits on.
So do you believe that you challenged or followed the conventions?
We tried to follow the conventions, as we felt that we shouldn't overcomplicate the storyline, as we only have a short space of time to finish the story.
Marked also released a radio advertisement too, right?
Yes, it did.
Now, in terms of your radio advert, what did you do?
Well, now with radio advertising, the advert usually lasts 30 seconds to a minute long, and it has a sole speaker. There is often the use of music and sound to layer it and give it depth, and it also includes the basic information like the release date, the certificate, and an outside review. But for our own advert, we use 2 voices, which makes it distinctly different in comparison to others.
So did you use anything from the film?
We used some parts of the narrative. Also, the giggling sound effects that you hear on the advert were actually from the film too. The music bed is also taken from our film. So by using parts of our film, it reflects what's actually in it, and it's also a form of promotion.
So effectively, you did follow most of the conventions.
Apart from the 2 different speakers, yes, we did. Thankfully, after your positive magazine review, audience numbers went up.
Oh, thanks. Well, it is my part of the job. The magazine review itself includes many conventions that I had to follow in order to develop a successful review for Marked. I had to include 2 images, a tagline, a short summary, important details, a rating, a pull quote, and obviously the actual review.
Right.
So whilst I was writing the review, I had to leave it open-ended. Like you said, it's a short film, and it is very hard not to give anything away.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean I couldn't have fun with it. If you read the article, you will see from the tagline and the caption for the pictures are intentionally humorous. In the film reviews for newspapers, you wouldn't see this. I also used 2 images from the film.
Obviously, when we chose them, we didn't want to release a spoiler.
But of course the review I created was fairly similar to those of our sister magazines, Total Film and Empire. Thank you for coming on tonight. We'll see you after the break.